Hey guys, what's up? It's Will back once again for another fight card prediction. I'm here for UFC 287. Alex Pereira against Israel Adesanya 2 from Miami in Florida. I think it's the first time like 20 years that the UFC are going back to Miami, Florida. So that's really interesting. And in the co-main event, you've got kind of Miami's own Jorge Masvidal against Gilbert Burns. I really like this the whole main pay-per-view. Actually, I think I really like the main card, but I really like the card overall. I think there's a lot of fights to get your teeth into. I'm getting this out late, 10 o'clock on a Sunday night, because my kids are on a break, so I'm just trying to get it out while I can. I've still got some fights to look over. Coming off a really good profitable event from the UFC a little whiles back last week. Managed to kind of avoid all the Bellator and PFL stuff from over the weekend. Never bet anything, got very lucky because I probably would have lost some money there. But yeah, a really good profitable year. My picks have been really good this year. There's been a couple of dodgy picks, but overall I'm sitting at 74.3% on all UFC picks since the start of the year. So I would say that's fairly good. If I could get anything close to 70% for the year, in fact 65 and above, I think you're doing pretty well. So yeah, like I say, really like this card. Let me get back to the thing here. I was just looking at Bahamundes. But yeah, let's get into the card. Hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Please sub. Let me know who you are on this week, if you've got any bets that you've got riding this week. I have one bet already for this week. I've got myself an underdog there, and I think this is a card where the underdogs look rather juicy, if I'm being honest with you. I've still got some fights to look through. I'll probably not look into some of them as much as others, but yeah, let's start off down in the 115-pound division here with Sam Hughes against the newcomer Jacqueline Amarin. I watched this girl's, you can pretty much watch this entire girl's career within inside probably about 20 minutes, including some of her jiu-jitsu matches as well. 6-0, coming in from the LFA, where she kind of ran through everybody, but she faced horrific competition, not good competition whatsoever. And you can kind of see this here with all her wins through round one. She's been taking girls out, and it's pretty obvious the way that she does it as well. She is very dominant on the ground. I think she's a checkmate jiu-jitsu black belt, I believe, training out an American top team. What you love from her is obviously her aggressiveness on the ground with her jiu-jitsu. She is very aggressive, and if the fight gets there for an elongated part of the time, then she will find something. We've seen her knock out a girl in 10 seconds flat. I think it was this one here, Megan Owen. But again, like these people that she's been facing, guys, it's not been high caliber opposition at all. This is a big step up to like a UFC kind of caliber fighter in Sam Hughes, who's had reasonable opportunities kind of in the UFC, got ourselves a couple of wins, seems to be progressing under Saif Saud at Fortis MMA, coming off a loss though from Pedro Rodriguez. Before that, 2 wins over Elise Reed and Estela Nunes. I think Estela Nunes, if I've seen some pictures on Instagram, she's out American top team as well, and she's did a little bit of work with Jacqueline Amarim, so someone who's a little bit familiar with the Sam Hughes style. Yeah, I mean, this is just a massive step up. If Amarin comes out the second round, we've no idea what she's going to be like. I think she has got striking there that she can use. I think Hughes will look to kind of tie up a little bit, look to kind of stifle Amarin, and maybe just try and put it against the cage, dirty cage work that way. But she cannot go to the ground with this girl. I think if she goes to the ground, she's in dire straits, and she could be very well subbed very quickly in that one. But I could still see Sam Hughes here being able to keep this on the feet, let it because I haven't really seen all that much wrestling out of Jacqueline Amarin to really make to see what her jiu-jitsu is like. She seems to kind of get it there, and it's kind of over really quick. Now, she could absolutely come out there and do that. Sam Hughes is, like, she has a step up, but she is lower down in the totem pole of fighters in that strawweight division. But she's dogged. I love the fact that she comes from a great camp, who she seems to have garnered so much confidence with the coach, our head coach, Saif Saud. I think that can help for a lot. This is just going to be interesting if it gets into the kind of second, third round. Not saying that Amarim can come out here and it's just going to gas out or be bad. We just haven't seen it. I think Sam Hughes is live, but as a pick, I'm going to go Amarim. I think that, Sam Hughes, I think she's over the plus 200 mark. I won't be betting it. There's a couple other spots I'd rather go at than this one. But would it surprise me if Sam Hughes wins? Not whatsoever. I know there's a couple of people I kind of respect in the industry who are looking at Sam Hughes. For me, I think Amarim's just going to catch her at some point and get a submission. So the newcomer to get the win there and move to 7-0. Steve Garcia against Shailene Nuerdenbeck. Is this the dude? I think it is. Fought Derek Minner. Yeah, it was. That whole fiasco with Derek Minner. 39-10-0. What's the age? 28. Coming 29 soon. Don't believe that for 1 second. He's probably another 10 years on top of that. Knowing what the Chinese kind of fighters coming in look like. Against Steve Garcia, 13-5. And a pretty kind of lowish level kind of fight here. But I've not looked into this one a hell of a lot. I've kind of looked into it a little bit on the Nuerdenbeck side, not so much the Garcia side. But I think he's live at these are big odds in my opinion. And he's been in the UFC for a little bit now. He's kind of riding wins and losses as he usually does. But losses to Luis Pena, Mahashati, another Chinese guy. But these 2 wins over Charlo Ontiveros, Chase Hooper, fairly kind of low caliber wins. Hooper, to an extent, he's a tough kid, but outside of that, he hasn't really got a hell of a lot. Outside of it, he's kind of grappling. He's quite funky with that. But he's big for this division. He's going to have a sizable kind of advantage with his reach here. I think is definitely the more dangerous fighter on the feet. I think he needs to keep Nuerdenbeck's hands off him. If he can get this to the ground, he will just lie there for minutes on end, not doing a hell of a lot. Nowadays, getting these takedowns and just lying, guys, is not working because the referees or the judges, are not scoring that if you're just lying that dude. I remember back in the day when I would have bets and guys, and if I knew they got that takedown, and they were there for numerous minutes in the fight, then I knew they were getting that round. That's really not the case anymore. They're not scoring, just being controlling. You have to be doing things with it, damage, duration, whatever it may be. But like I say, this is one that I've not looked into a hell of a lot, but I think the line should be a lot closer than this. I've still not seen a hell of a lot that I like out of this guy, even though he is 3-0 in the UFC, 3-1, I should say, sorry. Wins over Soriano. He can't stop takedowns. He never has. He probably never will. TJ Brown, I take that win into a lot more stock than his other two here because TJ's a dogged competitor who can grapple as well. He will always look for takedowns, and he was just kind of on the receiving end of that one there. As a pick, like I say, I'm going to pick Steve Garcia. I'm definitely not going to bet it. I know that. I've kind of got some spots lined out I want to go. As a pure pick, I'll go Steve Garcia. Not super confident, but for me, it's kind of dog or pass. So I'll go with Steve Garcia there. Trey Ogden against Ignacio Bahamondes. This is a late replacement as I cannot remember who this guy was supposed to fight. Bahamondes, I've completely forgot. And Trey Ogden was supposed to fight not too long ago as well. So I like Bahamondes here. I think that Ogden, his path to victory is getting the fight to the ground, getting some of that top time, working on top. But what I've seen from Bahamondes, I think he's a really dangerous up-and-coming guy in the lightweight division. I think this is maybe one of my guys to keep an eye on maybe next year, 2024, and let's see what he does because, like I say, 13-4 record, 2-1 in the UFC. This was a loss to John McDessie. Now, considering he came into the UFC, getting someone like John McDessie, who is a very aged competitor in the UFC, he's been around for a long time, fought a lot of fairly decent guys, and it's a tough kind of style matchup for maybe a Bahamondes. But Bahamondes gave him a right go in that fight and really went at him in his debut. And in his last two fights, third round stoppages over Roosevelt Roberts and Zhu Rong. He's got a massive advantage with height advantage there. The reach is not so much. He still has a couple of inches there, but he's a fighter that Mike Valley trains, and that's a guy like Bilal works a lot with, a really respected guy within the industry. Not many people kind of know about him, but he's a very good coach. From the people that I know that have worked with him, he says he's very, very good. I just don't see Trey Ogden. I mean, he's coming off that big win over Zellhuber, where Zellhuber just didn't. It seemed to me like he didn't throw, didn't go at it, and they had that loss to Jordan Levitt. I'm going to pick Bahamondes by knockout in the second round there. Cynthia Calvillo against Lupita Godinez. This is one, and this kind of surprised me a little bit because Cynthia Calvillo is moving back down to strawweight, I believe, after being up at the flyweight division. She's on 4 losses in a row. Caitlin Chukagian fought for a title. Jessica Andrade was the champion. Andrea Lee is fairly serviceable, and when she's on, she's very dangerous, and she was in that fight. And Nina Nunes, I mean, that I don't think it was the greatest look, but that was it was a little bit kind of hard to watch because Calvillo, I think, kind of maybe she just knew that she didn't have it that night. If you listen to the commentary, they're going about maybe she just wasn't feeling it that night. But for me, that's a little bit of a kind of quit mentality there, that she didn't go off the stool and didn't move forward. But for me, this is all going to be dependent on me. And I was about to say that I'm probably going to go make this bet within the next maybe couple hours, because I think the lines on this fight will move once more podcasts comes out. I think there'll be a few people on Calvillo, because I don't think she should be. She's plus 250 over here in the UK. Like I say, they're saying plus 210 there. I can see this coming all the way down below plus 200. I think it should be, personally, but it's all dependent on how she looks on the scales and if she can make the weight. In this matchup, I think it's a good style matchup for her, because Lupe is not an overall great striker. She's very hittable. She's very predictable, I think, with her striking. And you can see her wins here in the UFC, or she got an armbar there. She is a grappler for her. She will look to grapple. And I think this is the wrong kind of person to do it with, because Calvillo, I still think, is super, super dangerous and can get grappling exchanges going herself where she can come out on top. She was looking for that in the Andrea Lee fight. Just couldn't really establish anything, get the takedowns consistently. Nina Nunes, she got a couple of spots in that fight there where she got the fight to the ground and had a couple of opportunities, won that second round, I believe, but then lost the third to lose a kind of split decision there. For me, I'm going to pick Calvillo. And actually, I think I'm going to bet. I think that line's too high for me. Plus 240 to plus 250. For me, that'll be a 1-unit pop. I don't think you can trust Godinez at that number. If it's minus 270, I don't know how you could put that in a bet and feel confident about it. Stylistically, I just think this is a better matchup than she's had, because Chukagian, she's long, she fights at a distance, can be on her bike a little bit. Andrade's just a powerhouse. She beats a lot of girls the way that she does. And Andrea Lee's a pretty well-rounded fighter, good striking, good grappling. And Nunes, like I say, I don't think that was the greatest look, but this is a different matchup, and I think this is a better matchup for Calvillo. So I'm going to pick her. Hopefully she looks good on the scales. Weight cut goes well. She looks to be in fairly decent condition, but you never ever know. Pick's going to be Cynthia Calvillo for the win there, and probably going to be a bet on my part, taking an underdog shot. Middleweight division. Interesting fight. Big fight, actually, for Joe Pyfer. It's Gerald Meerschaert against Joe Pyfer. This guy, I think Dana White loves him to bits. I think he bought my house. He did a whole lot for him. Gave him opportunities on the Dana White Contender Series. He seems to really like this kid. And this guy, I don't know what my pick selection on him must be. It must be pretty rank, honestly, because I seem to get him wrong all the time. 5 incorrect, so 6 and 5, really. That's no surprise to me. I can never really get my head around Gerald Meerschaert. I always think he's probably going to be out the UFC, and then he comes with some massive wins. Fabinski, like you say, that's not the greatest win, but he still got him out of there. Muradov got him out of there. He gets guys out of there. He's in the fight non-stop. This win here, I thought was a great win. Bruno Blindado, dangerous striker. He dropped him in the third, got the submission with the guillotine. Jotko, he does what he usually does. Never got away with it last night, though. I thought he should have got that win over Will Fleury, but didn't get that. Where you've kind of got the explosiveness of Joe Pyfer. Like I say, this is what we've kind of seen from him. Not a hell of a lot. Lost to Dustin Stolfus after getting his arm broken. That was going back nearly 3 years. Ozzy Diaz got a beautiful head kick there. Beautiful left hook, sorry. And then, I mean, Alan Amadovsky, it's not taken away. Now, this is all going to be, I'm interested to see. I think that Pyfer, initially in the early spots of this fight, will look fairly dominant, but I think Meerschaert will kind of come into it with his striking and look to find a way to grapple. If he can get this fight, and he's still, I mean, Pyfer's still a young guy, he could maybe play into the game of someone like a Gerald Meerschaert. I would have liked better odds at like plus 155. I'm sure that's probably a little bit higher over here in the UK. I've not really looked at the odds on this fight within the last day or two. But it's one I'm going to look into a little bit more, see if the line kind of tightens up a little bit, and see where it goes. But I don't really, like I say, the spots in here, I'd rather go. This is not one that I really want to chase. I definitely don't want to bet the newcomer, the young kid, against the grizzled vet there with like 50 fights and a lot of stoppages, where if this guy makes one mistake, Gerald can absolutely come out here and take advantage. And I mean, is this a step down? I mean, Bruno Brandado, I would put ahead of Joe Pyfer. Jotko was always on the range of being a top 15 guy. Is Joe Pyfer a top 15 guy right now? No, I don't think he is. So this is a big matchup to getting a guy. If he gets a win over Gerald Meerschaert with so many fights under his belt, especially in the UFC as well, and he gets the win, I think it'd be good for him. But like I said, I'm going to lean on the Pyfer side. Initially, I was on the Meerschaert side, but like I said, I'm crap at picking Meerschaert fights. So, but my gut feeling was Joe Pyfer when I looked into it a little bit, and initially when I heard the matchup. So yeah, this was a fight that got made yesterday. Carl Williams against Chase Sherman. I was going to pick Huggy Bear against Chase Sherman. I don't know what the reason is for Chris Barnett pulling out. Carl Williams, we've seen this guy very recently. I want to say a month ago, 3 weeks ago. Let me see. It was on the Raw card 3 weeks ago. And you can see with this guy still, like, I mean, he's 33 years old. That's not bad for a heavyweight. Still very young in the game, 9 fights. The guy's a workhorse. You can see that with the way he fought Lucas Brzezinski last time. Got that big suplex slam. I think it was in the first or the second round. Just consistently got takedowns, but you can see the guy's not got a hell of a lot in the feet. Will be at a disadvantage against someone like a Chase Sherman here. But if he gets his grappling going, gets his wrestling going, gets his top control going, he can be an absolute problem for Chase Sherman here. Like I say, he's minus 500, they're saying there. I mean, that's big dog odds on a guy. I mean, he's not a super high caliber fighter, but I mean, can he beat this guy? I feel like he can. And it, like, if you're getting plus 400, L's to Cortez Acosta, Romanov, not a bad loss. I mean, and his only win is over Vandera, who is one of the lowest caliber guys I think we've ever had in the UFC. It's hard to trust this guy, but I think it's even harder to trust this guy, in my opinion. So, and plus the gas tank, like, he's coming in here on short notice. How much has he been in the gym in those 3 weeks since his last fight? Could he gas out and get stopped late on by someone like a Chase Sherman? I think he could. But I don't want to pick Chase Sherman. It's one of those things there where you know kind of what you're getting with this guy and how long is he going to last? How long is he going to get in top position? Is he going to bang out someone like Chase Sherman? He could, because I don't rate Sherman very highly. I'm going to have to pick Carl Williams. I was thinking there, am I going to take a shot on Chase Sherman? I can't do it. I'll take the kind of young upstart in the heavyweight division. This would be another fairly decent win, 2-0 in the UFC. Is it a bit of a step up from his previous opponent? Honestly, maybe slightly. But the short notice kind of this fight here kind of scares me. But I'm going to pick him just for simple reason. I don't trust Chase Sherman. Money-wise, like putting money on him, even picking him, I'll rather see this guy win. So I'm going to pick Carl Williams for the dub there. Michelle Watterson against Luana Pinheiro. This is another interesting fight to me as well. I think that you've got the grizzled vet against the young upstart here. When she came into the UFC, and even before the UFC, she was someone I had my eye on way back here in Brave. and I actually liked what I've seen from her. But to me, she's really not looked good in a UFC stint. I mean, there was that joke of a fight there where she kind of dove for her life there, and then she beat Sam Hughes. Doggy compared to Sam Hughes. I mentioned that earlier on. But for me, this is a big step up. And I'm thinking, right, what are the UFC doing here? They're obviously wanting this girl to get a win here over someone who's 37. She's not particularly marketable, I don't think, now, even though I think she's still got a little bit of worth to the UFC if you put on the right matchups. But she, like you see, she's got L's here. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, former champion. No, nothing wrong with that. Esparza, two-time former champion. Win over Angie Hill, close fight. 2 strikers there. And she got the split. to Marina Rodriguez, she could be fighting for a belt very, very soon. And Amanda Lemos, to me, I think she is fighting for a belt in June, I want to say, at UFC in Canada against Wang Zhili. So she's fought the best girls in her division. And this is, to me, a girl on the precipice of the top 15. It says 15 there. I don't know whether she is probably ranked in the UFC. She probably is, because I wouldn't have that many fighters. But I think this is a winnable fight for Michelle Waterson. I've not been impressed with her whatsoever. I think she can keep it distance. I think she can circle around. I think she can get some takedowns. I can maybe see Pinheiro coming into this fight a little bit later on, but I think I would much rather be on the side of Michelle Waterson. There's more that I like than what I see out of Pinheiro. So not super confident. I would, if it was a bigger number, I probably missed out the base number. If I could have probably got like a plus 160, plus 170, I probably would have ended up with another bet here. But as a pick, I'm going to take another underdog. I'm going to go with Michelle Waterson for the win there. Kelvin Gastelum against Chris Curtis. This is another one that I've kind of been a little bit not sure about, because is this guy done? I mean, how old is he? 30, 31? So he's still only 31, man. He feels like that dude's been around for so long. A guy that really should be a welterweight, as we've talked about before. Moved up. He's very undersized at 185. But I still think he's a very talented guy. But he needs to really start to turn it around. If not, his UFC career could be done very, very shortly. And this guy, I mean, he's a grizzled vet. He's retired, I want to say, a couple of times. Then he's came back in the same night. He got an opportunity. But since he's came to UFC, he's been nothing but very, very solid and beat decent guys. Phil Hawes, Brendan Allen, who's got a main event coming, popped his weight decision against Rodolfo Vieira. Just didn't let that guy get anywhere near a takedown, get a sniff of it in that fight. And then he's got the win over Joaquin Buckley, where he caught him with that big shot in the second round. I thought it was a very close fight, that Buckley was in that fight. I think I bet Buckley in that one, and was kind of humming and hawing at the that. I was like, that could have been a winnable fight, because I thought he was coming into it, but ultimately got caught. And he had that display against Jack Hermansson where Jack just really stifled him and frustrated the life out of Chris Curtis. Like I say, you look at the L's this guy's taken. Kanya fought for belts, former champion. Hermansson's always a rough guy to face. Like I say, he's got wins over both these dudes. Darren Till, I think he won that fight, in all honesty, with his only win over Ian Heinisch here. I've kind of been struggling with this one a little bit. The money's come in Kelvin Gastelum, and I do still think there is something there with this guy. So I think one more time, I'm going to ride with Kelvin Gastelum. I think he's been at fight ready out in Arizona, if I believe. I think hopefully being around some really sharp minds. I think that's what it was. I looked at this a little bit back. I know there's a lot of people that have been on here. He was a pretty sizable underdog. That's all changed. I'll pick Kelvin Gastelum. Like I say, I'm not super confident. Yeah, I'm going to pick Gastelum on that. But would it surprise me if Curtis really come out here? For me, I think this is going to be more of a boxing match. I'd like to see Gastelum maybe mix up a little bit, but I don't know whether he will. But the pick's going to be Gastelum. Like, not confident whatsoever. On to the main card now. We've got Raul Rosas Jr. against Christian Rodriguez. Yeah, I am not super high on Rosas yet. I've seen people out there calling this guy a future champion. He's going to be fighting for a belt inside the next couple of years. And I'm just like, I don't see it yet. But sometimes I have been known to be a little bit slow on certain fighters in the come up and maybe seeing things a little bit earlier than they should be. It's weird that some guys I see it with, I've seen it with Stipe, I've seen it with Garbrandt, but I don't see it with this kid. Still super young, 18 and a half years old. I tried to fade him last time out against Jay Perrin, and I thought, right, the next guy that this dude faces, I'm absolutely going to be in on betting his opponent. I think a loss is very, very close, but the UFC maybe know what they're doing by matching up. Because when you start looking at Christian Rodriguez, I have seen him being taken down. I have seen him being controlled a little bit up against the cage. I think overall as a striker, I do think he's the more fundamentally better striker coming out of Rufus Sport, I believe it is. Under Duke Rufus, the Pettis brothers out of there. Not that I don't know how much they're really in Rufus Sport as much nowadays, but still coming from Duke Rufus, I've spoke to him at length about his striking and some of his philosophies and stuff. And I think he's a solid overall guy. And I said once this fight was made, I'm probably going to end up betting this guy. But once I watched a little bit more of this dude, I just don't think the time is right for me to fade him right now. I think the UFC, they're putting this guy on the first fight of a main pay-per-view card for a reason. It's not because of Christian Rodriguez, with all due respect, but he can take this and garner this guy's hype. I think this guy's solid. I think I don't want to say he's super live. I think that he's got an opportunity if he can really get this guy thinking and get him in a little bit of trouble. But his grappling seems to be on point. He seems very strong. It seems like he could go for days. But we've still got to find out a lot about him. And like I think he's minus 225 over here in the UK. I don't really want. I think if you're comfortable in that, you can maybe put him as a parlay piece. And he probably could be, but like I say, right now I'm kind of just wanting to learn a little bit more about him. I think this is definitely a step up from Jay Perrin. That Jay Perrin was probably my worst bet of last year. It really was. I'm going to pick Raul Rosas. I think that he's got an opportunity to finish this fight. But as a winner in the fight, I think he gets it done here. Kevin Holland against Santiago Ponzinibbio. I like Kevin Holland here. I don't want to say that Ponzinibbio was short. I really don't think he is, but he is coming 37. But it's really hard to trust this guy, in my opinion, especially at those odds. No, thank you. Ponzinibbio, really, really solid striker. Back in his pomp before he got ill, this guy, he was on the verge of fighting for a belt, was really looking like he was going to be a bit of a problem for your Usmans and your Woodleys in that division. And then that illness really just took everything from him, it looked like. But within the last couple of years, you've seen a loss to Jing Liang, knocked out, an L to Jeff Neal. That's nothing to be ashamed about because Jeff Neal is a top 10 guy. Michelle Pereira, who's got a big fight against Wonderboy coming up, that was an L there. He's a ranked guy as well. So he's losing to decent guys. And this one here, he was clearly down against Alex Morono before getting that stoppage. And I went over Miguel Baeza, who's still fairly young at the game. If Kevin Holland comes out here and just is put in the work and has been in the gym, been concentrating his grappling, been working his striking, he's very long, languid, very fluid, and he could definitely have a speed advantage here over someone like a Ponzinibbio. But he's going to come out here, he's going to play about. I don't think you can trust him at minus 280. Coming off 2 losses there, that was a great fight against Wonderboy. He went in there, they struck with one another, and it was just a great fight. But that was only 3 months ago, and he took a lot of damage in that fight as well. And then he had the loss to Hamzat there, where he got subbed very, very quickly. And he did ultimately say he retired. Whether that's the truth or not, I don't know. But I'll go with Kevin Holland. Not super confident. Would not touch him at minus 280 if that's what it's saying down there. So the value might be on Ponzinibbio. Again, I just don't want to be in the Ponzinibbio side. I think that he could get popped at distance here against someone like Kevin Holland, but I just can't trust him. Holland as a pick, though. Really good fight. Really, really, really good fight. Rob Font against Adrian Yanez. I was watching this kid, I want to say it was probably back on Friday. I watched a couple of his fights in the LFA, then watched his kind of run in the UFC, and there's things to love. There are still things that I'm not sure about. This to me is a a big step up, in my opinion, from who he has faced in his career. Just the wins that this guy has now, he might be catching him at the right time. But what about Yanez? Do I like? Well, you can't not watch this guy and not watch his striking and be impressed with it, with his shot selection, with his kind of calmness, his countering ability. That is something that is definitely very high caliber within his game. Picks his shots very well, times them very well, but I still think he gets hit a lot. I still think he can be pressured a little bit. What I do like is his composure, because, like I say, you watch this fight with Randy Costa. He was bloodied up. He was really taking a lot of shots in that first round from Randy Costa, with it being kind of high kicks to the arms, long jabs from Randy Costa, and that's something that I like on the Font side. But then once that kind of fight started flowing, I think Costa really threw far too much output in that first round, and it really downgraded him going into the second round. And Yanez, being the calculated kind of computer that he is, really just broke down the shots, hit him with, I think it was a body shot that kind of folded him, and then kind of took him out for there. Davy Grant got hit a lot in that fight. That was a clear win. I don't know what Davy was kind of really complaining about there. And really, just you could see the shots that he was landing in Davy. He was picking great shots. Like really good footwork as well. Obviously, if you're a great striker, you have to put yourself in positions where you can counter appropriately. He does that. He sees things very quickly, and then he just absolutely dismantled Tony Kelly. That was a great win, because Tony Kelly was talking all mad types of shit in that fight, and then ultimately got absolutely blasted in that first round. But Rob Font, I mean, some of the wins this guy has on his resume is unbelievable. But the last two fights, he has taken a ton of damage. Jose Aldo and the Marlon Vera fight, they were bludgeonings in parts of that fight. But look at some of the wins. Ricky Simone, Marlon Moraes. Now that Marlon Moraes is completely done. We saw in the PFL last night. Garbrandt, he could well be done as well. But Sergio Pettis, Thomas Almeida, Douglas Silva de Andrade, his losses are only to really good guys. Assunção was a top 10 guy for many a year. Pedro Munoz is a destroyer and I think can beat anybody on his day. Personally, I think he's that good. But he has started to look a little bit fragile. Don't like how easily he can be pressured a little bit. And someone like Yanez could cut him off, maybe push him against the cage, and look to kind of throw some big strikes. But I love his jab. I love his striking. I think his output's fantastic. This is a big fight for him, because if he loses to this young kid coming up from who he's faced, like, he's losing his spot, I think, in the top 10 of that division. That could be the end we see of Rob Font. I want to say he's, 35 years old. Turning 36 in a couple of months. So, like I say, this is a massive fight for. When I was watching some of the fights of these two, I'm still thinking, right, I still want to see it from Yanez. Prove it to me against a top 10 guy. And this maybe one of the better stylistic matchups for him in that division, in the top 10 of that division. So I'm going to go with Rob Font, actually. I think he's a very live underdog this week. I don't know what the betting odds are. I think he's plus 163 or plus 150 is over here in the UK, actually. But like I say, gut feeling. I'm going to go with a gut feeling like I've kind of been going with this year, and it's been doing well with me. But would it surprise me if this guy comes out, puts out on maybe a 15-minute absolute bludgeoning where he kind of doubles up the strikes on someone like a Rob Font? No, but for me, I feel I want to be on the Font side. I think there's a little bit more there with the step up. I still think he's a very, very credible fighter with a good skill set, and this could be a good matchup where his striking really comes to the forefront here. But there might be a time soon where he gets plastered with a shot and gets put out. Would it surprise me if it's someone like Yanez? Not entirely. But for me, I'm going to pick Rob Font via decision. Co-main event of the night. Gilbert Durinho Burns against Gamebred Jorge Masvidal in this one here. Now, I I think I said at the start, I have one bet in this card, and the bet is in this fight, and it is on this dude here. And I'm probably going to cop a lot of crap for this, but for me, and I know some people have already told me, it's like you're just throwing your money away. I've bet Masvidal a unit at plus 350. I think that line is far too high. I really do think that Gamebred can come out here and beat Gilbert Burns. I'm a big Gilbert Burns fan, actually. I really, really like. If you go back to his debut, I was raving about this kid. I thought he'd be a massive problem at 155, and ultimately he wasn't a problem until he moved up to 170. He still had some signature wins at 155, had some good submissions, but ultimately once he hit 170, that's when he came into his pomp, into his stride. And I've seen a lot in the week that the UFC's been off saying that Masvidal's done. He's too old. He's taking too much damage. He's kind of fragile. He's broken goods now. He's done. And I just don't see that. Someone that's so savvy in the fight game, to me, I just don't think he's done now. I think there is a skill discrepancy if Gilbert gets this fight to the ground. There's no doubt about that. If he can get it down there, his jiu-jitsu skills are some of the best within the UFC, in my opinion. But I don't trust him to come out there and do that. I think that he could get lured into a striking fight with someone like a Masvidal if they're chopping at one another. I still think that he can be lured into a fight that ultimately he's still got a great chance of winning, but he could be a little bit of a disadvantage. We've seen that a little bit, I think, with the Hamzat fight, where he can hurt guys very, very easily, but he can be hurt as well. I've seen him dropped a couple of times by jabs. His last two losses, he's been dropped by jabs in both of those. So, but he is a deadly striker himself. I'm not saying that he couldn't knock out someone like Jorge Masvidal, because he absolutely could. But for me, I just think that Masvidal, from what I've been hearing, some of the things that I've been looking into interviews and such, I think that I just think he's live. I think this number is off. Like I say, I've been copying some crap with this one here. I really have been, like, people asking like, who you betting? It's like, I've already got a bet down in Masvidal, and I know there's some other people that are on that number. They just think that I think the number is going to go down pretty substantially as the week goes on, the fight week goes on. But this ultimately could be another silly pick on my part. But after the Veronica Macedo one, where I picked her and didn't bet her, and I was so pissed with myself after that. I was like, right, if I've got a dog that I like at those odds, now that was a lot different of a fight because that was a lower caliber fight, where you got both guys here who are in a really good division, fought tough guys, lost to top guys. I mean, he's come off win over Neil Magny, who I've got a lot of respect for, but he's only 2 losses in these last 3 years or so. It's to the best, Kamaru Usman, one of the best that's ever done in Kamaru Usman, and then Chimaev, who is an absolute beast himself, where losses to Covington, got wrestled to bits there, got knocked out by Usman, and lost a decision there, him coming in short notice as well. I just think this is going to be a good matchup. I think this is going to steal the show. I think it's going to be, fight of the night. I can see this being a stand-up affair. I'm hoping it's going to be a stand-up affair. If I'm betting Masvidal, I want it to be that, because his slick striking is, I think, far more inept to beat someone like a Gilbert Burns, who's got a lot of power. Wouldn't surprise me if he was to touch the chin of Masvidal, put him down. He's been put down a few times as well. I was mentioning Gilbert's been put down. So is Masvidal. I mean, Dan Till put him down. I just think this line should be closer, and I bet it. So the money's already down in Masvidal, taking another shot on an underdog. I think he's a live fighter here. But like I say, I think I'll be one of the only guys maybe picking him this week. But I don't mind being on an island on my own. I just think that, like, the betting line is off, and I'm going to bet. I'm one of these guys that I like betting. Like, I look at lines and I think lines are off. I should bet the guy, but when I looked at this, I just think this could be a stand-up affair, and this guy, in my opinion, is going to be live. So, could be washed. I just don't think so. I just think that the fight will always be in a guy like that, and in Miami as well. I mean, this could lift this guy up and hopefully bring the best out of him, which I hope so, because like I say, I've got my money down on him. Masvidal for the win there. And the main event of the night, we have the rematch. I think it's the fourth fight between these two across different sports. Alex Pereira defends his UFC middleweight championship against the former champion Israel, the last stylebender, Adesanya. I mean, these two are rematching. When was that? It's probably 6 months ago. 4 months ago, 5 months ago. Jesus, not even that long. Where it's pretty clear that if you're watching that fight, who's winning that fight? To me, I had Izzy up 3 rounds to 1. You're probably, the way that fifth round was kind of going, maybe leaning Izzy a little bit, and then he gets caught, he gets wobbled, and then you've got this guy who is an absolute destroyer once he has you hurt, and it's just, how this guy makes 185, I have no idea. I can see this guy fighting at 205. I can see this guy fighting at heavyweight in the future. I think this guy's going to be a threat within the UFC. How old is he? 35. I think he will have a kind of shorter time span in the UFC, but I think he will fight for other belts and other divisions because his power just is so massive, and how big he is. What's he, 6'4"? 6'4", he's huge. But Izzy was touching him up in that fight, parting him with shots, kind of hurt him a little bit in that first round. But this guy's got the X factor that he can take you out at any point. And I've seen some love for this guy. For me, I'm on Israel Adesanya here. I think that it's all about making adjustments in this fight. And both guys, I think, will need to make them, because it's pretty clear that Alex was losing that fight until he wasn't. And Israel, I mean, if he just fights a little bit smarter, tries to not kind of hang at distance where this guy can hit you with some massive shots, then ultimately, I think as a better overall fighter, I think it's Adesanya. And I think in all 3 of the fights that they've had, he's been winning the fight until he's not been winning the fight. It's been the weirdest like trilogy where some guys just might, like, he just might have Izzy's number, plain and simple. I just think that there's something in Israel that really wants this fight. He wants to beat this guy, but it's one of these things where when guys lose their belt, it's rather hard to get it back as well. So, but my gut feeling is Israel Adesanya. I actually feel like I want to bet Israel Adesanya. I think the number is going to come down. His mine is 138 over here in the UK. I checked earlier on because I think there will be more love for this guy as the week goes on. He's an underdog. We've seen what he did before. He's beat this guy 3 times. The narratives of that. For me, I just think that this is going to be Izzy's time. But I thought that last fight, and then he was like stopped. Mark Goddard was in front of him stopping that fight there. He was getting hit with some blundering shots. So I'm going to pick Israel Adesanya for the win there and regain his UFC middleweight championship. But this guy is an absolute beast, and getting this guy at an underdog price, I get it. I do get it. But for me, I'm going to pick Izzy for the win there. So that's my picks, guys, for UFC 287. Thank you for kind of sticking around with me for as long as you have. I've got a few in the air. If you guys are still around, throw a thumbs up. It really helps me. I'm going to go back into the chat just to see what's going on. Buffo on the beat. What's happening, man? I hope you're very well. Excuse me, guys. I'm very, very well. Good to see you again. Joey David. Yeah, I saw that. Joey Davis there. That wasn't great at all. Hello, William. It's been a long time. How are you? I'm very, very good. How are you? Sam Hughes is this week's Veronica Macedo. I like it. Took some Garcia plus 200 and 5 other dogs in this card. I love that. I think it's a dog card to me. It screams a dog card, and the matchups are there. So, Wayne, always a big supporter. Thank you very much. UFC in Miami for Marcus. What's this? Am I the only one baffled by Kelvin Holland Ponzi line? Yeah, it's just a massive line. It's a stupid line, but I don't want to touch that fight whatsoever. Just finished work. Glad I could catch the lot apart. Hope you're well, Cam. I thought Jay Perrin was going to have a little more success. Me too. As soon as I seen that guy get thrown around for the first time, I was like, my money is gone. Absolutely gone. I'm not understanding all the love in Holland at all. Like I say, as a pick, I'm going to pick him, but I don't want to put money anywhere near him. Wonder why I put it on Kevin Holland. UFC Embedded is good stuff too. Font has the tools, but feels like you avoid getting hurt all the time. Yanez is a great finisher. He is. Once he's got you hurt, he takes you out. So that's something that I probably should have said. Burns by decision. I get it. UFC isn't doing any favours for Game Red's homecoming tough matchup. That's true. You think that Burns wrestling? It could be. He can make it look a squash match if he uses it. I'm not setting him kind of doing that, but it'd be smart if he does. Burns can crack too. Hasn't been subbed. He's been subbed by Toby Amada. I remember that submission from many, many years ago. Curtain Jackers, Veronica Macedo. Yeah, I think, like I said, I don't mind the Sam Hughes love, because, like I say, if you watch Amarin Hush's fought, it's not solid opposition at all. You should go and watch it. If you've got 20 to 30 minutes of time, go watch it. It's not good, but the UFC can maybe build something with her, because she's a stunning looking woman, got great skills, lots of value in Masvidal, still improving somehow. People love parlaying big faves. Yeah. Raul Rosas, line will get bigger. What's that? Let me see. I see zero value in Masvidal, but I won't play it because the line is too wide. I'll give you that. Well, like I said, I was kicking myself after the Macedo fight a couple of weeks ago. I was genuinely pissed off at myself, so I'm not going to do it again. So I'll take the opportunity when I can. Potan, Amazon Slugger. Izzy had that last one in the bag, and it was so happy when the KO landed for Alex. Close out my parlay. I prayed real hard. Hey, I don't think I had. Oh, in fact, I did. I think I had Adesanya in rounds 4 or 5 or decisions. So, yeah, guys, thank you very much for sticking around. I wasn't expecting to go this long. I thought half an hour would be about my limit, but I'm still here. I get chatting and I just love talking. So, guys, enjoy UFC 287. I'll be back next week for whatever card that is. I'm not entirely sure. Until then, take care. All the best. And